Hello and welcome back. I thought in this episode I will take you through something which is really cool, and this is image stacking. And this is a technique used basically to combine multiple images of the same scene, and they get stacked on top of each other and processed. And from that, it helps us to reduce errant noise within the image, enhance detail, and improve the dynamic range of the final merged image. The process is actually really quite easy. It just takes a little bit of processing power on your computer. So let's get started. What stacking does is turn an image like this into a merged image like this. More detail, less noise. Here you have the original image on the left and the stacked image on the right. I will now show you how we stack drone imagery. So you've chosen your spot that you want to take your imagery from. You've changed from video to imagery. And just in this first one, I'm going to show you, this is just the single image that I'm going to take. I've tapped on the screen just to reset the exposure levels and focus. And I'm just on single shot at the moment. There we are. You've just seen on the right hand side, the little button just highlight up. When I want to go to stacked, and you can do this in a multitude of different DJI drones, such as the Mini 3 Pro, Mini 4 Pro, but I'm using the Air 3. You can choose the number of burst images to take. So 3 or 5 in this case, or the Mini 3 Pro, actually it goes up to 7. So I'm going to take 5, but what I'm going to do is take one set of 5, and then another, and then another, and then another. So click that. Again, tap on the screen, get the focus, get the exposure you want for a certain point on the screen. So now you press the shoot button and you'll see on the right hand side, it goes for a bit longer because it's taking 5 shots simultaneously, one after the other. What I'm doing now is capturing the next 3 sets of 5 shots. Now, with each of these 3 captures, I'm going to press somewhere else on the screen just to get that exposure level for that area of the screen. So you can press anywhere. Don't always keep to the center of the screen or to the bottom center, but click on the left and the right, a bit higher, a bit lower, just so that you get a nice dynamic range throughout all the images when they're going to be merged together. Make sure that when you're taking the imagery, you're shooting with full resolution and not zoomed in. So in this case, everything is shot in 48 megapixels. So in order to create our stack, I'm going to use Photoshop, but there's a lot of other normal imagery programs out there that you can use. So in here, what you have to do is you have to click on File, Scripts, and then Load Files as Stack. You can't just open lots of images. You have to go through this procedure. You have to load them as a stack. So in this example, you'll see I've got all my images there. What I need to do is just choose those 20 that I took as um, stacks, as basically those burst shots. Now just selecting those 20 images, making sure I've got the correct ones. They will now load into Photoshop and I press OK to start the process. Once this is completed, all the images appear on the right hand side. If I zoom in here to the bottom right hand panel, you'll see that all the images are featured there in the panel. And next to them, they've all got the eye selected. So if I highlight all of them and click hide layer, then all of the images are no longer visible. What I'll do now is just highlight all of them and then do show layers. So all of them are visible. Again, they're all stacked on top of each other. So you're seeing the latest one on top. In the first part of the process, click on edit and then auto align layers because you've got all those layers selected, and then just click auto. You don't need anything else because all the imagery was taken from the same angle. And then click OK. It will now start to process. If you've only got 3 images or 5 images, it won't take long at all. If you've got 20 or 100 images, it will take longer. It just depends on the speed of your computer. It's a windy day, then what you might find is that the edges of the images could be ever so slightly out. But this is what the alignment process does. It aligns everything together. And one way to see that it's worked is on the very edges, you might see a bit of the underlay background. This is the second and final process. This is where the magic happens. So we clicked on Edit, Auto Blend Layers. Once you've done that, click on Stack Images. Make sure you don't click on Panorama because remember, all the images are taken from the same angle of the same area. And then click OK. Now that all the images are blended, what you'll find on the right-hand side is that you've got a merged image, which is the top image. What I'm going to show you now is how that merged image comes about. So again, I'm highlighting all those images and then just clicking hide. Now, what the blending process does is it takes the best pixels from all of those images that overlap each other. So now, as I make each individual layer visible, these are the layers that make up that merged image. And the bits of pixels that are coming back into view when I click on the eyeball are the best pixels that the computer thinks will make the best image. So rather than just having one image with flat pixels, what's happening here is that we've got 20 images, and through the aligning and then the blending process, it's within each of those images, it's taking the best pixels. Then what happens is all of those images are merged together, and at the very top, we then have an overall merged image that includes the best pixels from all of the images that we've taken. After that has completed, what I've done is clicked on File and then Export to PNG so that you can see what the stacked image looks like without any adjustments. So without any contrast, exposure, or vibrance or added saturation. You can always add a little bit extra saturation, vibrance, contrast, or exposure, especially if it's a cloudy day with not much sunshine. And this is the final image that I've added with a bit of touching up so you can see what it looks like. The original image that I took with the drone is on the left and the stacked image is on the right. What I'm going to do now is just expand the left-hand image so we can see the size on that original image that I took. And that was 35.9 megabytes. That was the image I took with the drone. What I'm going to do now is just expand the right-hand image, and what you'll see is that the stacked image is 85.1 megabytes. Therefore, there's a huge amount of data in the image that we've just created, which is great. What I'm going to do now is zoom in to 100% on the left-hand image. And I'll do the same with the right-hand image. And then we'll be able to see the differences in terms of the quality of the imagery, the original imagery and the stacked imagery. As I zoom into 259% on the left and right image, what you can see is that in the left-hand image, slightly blurry with noise, but once we blended it in the right-hand image, you can see that those leaves are sharper, and that's what the blending process does. It gives you more dynamic range, so you can actually see a little bit more in the shaded areas, and that's because when we took all of those burst images, we clicked on different areas to get different exposure levels. And then the blending process took the best pixels and put them all together. Now, this is a great example of where the original image is less detailed than the blended one. On the original image, what you will see just behind my car, the big black one with the spoiler, next to the road, there's some blemish marks. But when you look on the right-hand image, the stacked image, you can see the detail of those grey areas in the concrete. Now, a little bit further down, what you can see is two rectangular patches in the left-hand image, which is manhole covers. But once we've blended the images and processed them, you can actually make out more detail in those manhole covers and the surrounding concrete area. So it's very subtle what it does in terms of the blending process, but you will get a much better overall image. And if you are submitting images to stock websites, this is the sort of thing they like. Now, again, on this image, when you look at the roof on the right compared to the left, ever so slightly more detailed and sharper. Remember, in the post-processing, I didn't touch any of the sharpness tools. And again, if we look at the white window on the left compared to the right window on the left is slightly blurrier. And this white box here, you can see the outline of it. There's less noise on the image on the right than the one on the left. So I hope that you found this useful. I've really enjoyed making it, and I've managed to produce some really nice images with the stacking process. Thank you very much for watching.